Welcome back to the Heal with Gold show. And I am thrilled to have Courtney Runyon back. She was at our show, I believe it was over a year and a half ago, and it was a fabulous show. She was home, Texas, by her parents at that time when I interviewed her then. Now she is in Cabo, Mexico. So we're bringing her all the way from Mexico. Just want to remind everybody that we're doing the show in memory of Miriam Amsalem, a friend of mine who died suddenly, and I am doing the 10 golden nuggets of healing your mind and soul. The chapters in my book, I'm doing it as a show, and each chapter that we talk about one of the golden nuggets, I'm bringing somebody to speak about it that I think it's the perfect example. It's a person who lives that golden nugget. And Courtney Runyon is going to talk to us about Vantage Point, how changing the mindset, changing the perspective, changing from how she sees things, changed her life completely. For all of those who saw Courtney that time, you know her story. Many of you may know her story, that she got paralyzed from the neck down from an autoimmune disease, and how she completely remade her life. And she went from somebody who was in such a terrible situation to thriving, a thriving, happy human being that has such an incredible effect on others. So without further ado, I just want to remind everybody, as you log in, as you hear, because I see that there are some people here, but I don't know who you are. So write a comment, because I'm not on Facebook, so I cannot see. But if you write a comment, I will see if you are on Facebook, or if you are on YouTube, I'll be able to see, write your name so you know who you are. You'll have an opportunity to interact, ask questions. And again, without further ado, welcome, Courtney.
Hi. Well, thank you for such a wonderful complimentary introduction. You're very generous.
No, imagine, Courtney, your story touched me in so many ways, because I follow your videos. I listen to you. Your videos are usually long. So anybody who wants to hear more from Courtney, go to her page, follow Unicord, because she shares a lot. She shares her journey in such a real, genuine way, and I love watching your videos. Sometimes I see the tears in your eyes when you're sharing something emotional, and I get all emotional. I'm crying with you. And actually, one of the reasons why you got picked for this specific one, because I could speak to you about so many of the 10 golden nuggets, because you really live them. But this one, it was because of one of the videos that you shared. And I think I even forwarded that video into the Heal with Gold show, because I wanted people to listen to the story. And I thought it was fascinating. And I think we all, and I'm going to let Courtney go into the story and what happened there. But I think it was fascinating to watch your whole thought process, because you told the story, what happened, how you felt immediately, how you felt a little later, and then how you reacted to it after you had put in some thought. And I thought that it was so wonderful to see the whole journey. But Courtney, before we go into that specific story, can you please tell just in a few minutes a little bit about yourself for the people that didn't see the original video, or that don't know you?
Yeah. So I'm from Texas, y'all. But I like quit my corporate career and I went traveling around the world for a year. And I thought that was going to be my big story. And then shortly after that, I moved to Las Vegas, fell in love. That's why I moved to Vegas. It wasn't voluntary. And then while I was there, I just started having all this weird stuff happen. Like my thumb went numb, then my leg went numb, my ankle started rolling in high heels. And just slowly, my body's, maybe you're familiar with ALS. I don't have that, but, oh, thank you, Marina. Hi. I don't have ALS, but these symptoms are the same. They're pretty much the same. So, in fact, I did finally get diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called CIDP, which is very similar to Guillain-Barré. But the way they get there, it's process of elimination, and it does get down between ALS and autoimmune of the peripheral nerves. Unfortunately, I had the one where you can recover from. But, it took a long time to find the diagnosis and treatment that worked. So it got so bad. Even after I started treatment, I kept getting worse. Even after that, until I was paralyzed from the neck down at age 33. And I basically lost my voice, not all the way, but I was like, could barely talk. And my lungs were going paralyzed and my face was going paralyzed on my very rock bottom day.
And so I can't even, you're not the first person that I interviewed with paralysis. So it's very interesting to hear from multiple people. I did interview somebody that had Guillain-Barré. I had never heard of this disease. But it's very interesting the fear, the fear that suddenly you can't move this, and things are going, numb in your whole body. Your mind is going a million miles an hour, and usually our minds always chooses the bad. But you shared how when you were in the nursing home and you said, well, if this is my life, what can I do that it's good? And you asked them to bring you funny socks and funny, that decoration, so you would make people smile. And I could see it, when you were describing how you chose, what can I do good with the condition that I have, with my situation? We need to think more about that. What is the good that I can contribute still in the condition that I am right now? So tell us a little bit about how did you think about that at a moment of complete desperation, when most people would feel completely broken, in victim mode, not because to be in a place where you want to still help others, you're not really a victim. When you are thriving, when you want to use your situation to help others. But this was very early on. You were still processing everything that you were going through. So how did that happen?
That's an interesting perspective that you just said. I'm gonna have to write that down and think about that and wrap more words around it. How I really like that. How when you're in a victim state, which, let me say this, the word victim is thrown around a lot, especially by me lately. It's something I really like studying right now. It's been enlightening. But there's a difference between being a victim and playing the victim. Like being the victim, it's a natural human response and coping mechanism, and like totally cool if you feel victimized and you go through those emotions of like, gosh, like I got paralyzed at 33. Like I was victimized by this illness or by my stressors in life that caused all the inflammation. And, so it's a natural response to feel victimized. But being the victim and playing the victim are different. And I think, playing the victim is wild because when you're a victim, it means you're in danger. There's a threat, right? Whether that's a person or whatever. And whenever you have something you perceive as a threat, it puts you in a stress response and you have an inflammatory response. So if you're playing the victim all the time, you're in if you're a chronic victim, you have chronic inflammation, you're gonna have chronic illness. It's like all a thing. But that's interesting what you said of when you're a victim, you're not helping other people. I've not had that connection. And that's a really cool thing you just got me thinking about, because it's so true. Like if you're needing help and you're needing to be saved, how can you help and save other people? That's really enlightening. Anyways, well, yeah, I remember I was working out one day in the gym and, I'm like walking from machine to machine on my walker, and the manager of the gym came up to me and he said, hey, like, I just want to know the secret. Like, what are the books you're reading? What are you studying? Like, how are you walking around this gym on a walker happy? Like, what is it? And just my instinctive answer was, well, Brad, I said, I just like the way being happy feels. I like it better. And that's such a simple answer to your question, but it's, we get addicted to certain feelings, and unfortunately sometimes we can get addicted to that victim mentality, that victimization, because I could go on a tangent about that, but we can get addicted to anything, but we find our homeostasis and what emotions we have a habit of allowing ourselves to feel. When I was in the nursing home, the second time, I think I went to 4. I had this epiphany while I was there. There was this cop, and he was so grumpy, and I can't even repeat. I don't know the rules of this show. I can't even repeat the words he used to yell in the nursing home. They were kind of funny, but he would just be watching football and yelling the most obscene things. I would be looking around in my wheelchair, like paralyzed from the neck down, looking around, like, are these gonna let him yell these things? Like, does anyone hear what's happening over here? And then there's this guy, Sean, who had Guillain-Barré, and he's actually the designer of Tesla. He's the engineer for that. Pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. And he was like so positive, and he was always in the gym, like working out his legs. And he got Guillain-Barré. He went to CrossFit on a Friday, and then on a Monday he was paralyzed. So that was that fast. But he's a CrossFit guy. And then there's me, and I'm wearing costumes in the nursing home, and like talking to my friends on the phone, being really social. My epiphany in this nursing home is in alignment with what I was just saying about we find our homeostasis. I assure you that cop still yelled obscenities, was still grumpy, and still kind of an a-hole before he got in his car accident. Sean, the Tesla guy, he was very positive before. He was always in the gym. It's just before it was CrossFit, now it was physical therapy. And me, I was always in costumes with my friends, going to theme parties, always really social. So it's like our circumstances can change, and we find a way to get back in balance and get back to that emotion we're feeling. So I think I just was looking for that. We all have our own ways of regulating our emotions. Mm-hmm. And I was reaching for the things that could help regulate how I was feeling. So I think when anyone goes through some kind of, okay, I'll say this, we get attached to it's our circumstances making us feel a certain way. And to be fair, they are kind of like different stimulus make us feel different things. And, different people and circumstances and situations like bring, ignite and awaken and activate different parts of us, like it's true. But at the end of the day, as I saw in the nursing home, even when your circumstances completely change, it's like you're going to find that way of feeling that you're going to regulate yourself to get back to, you're going to evolve, you're going to adapt. We're very adaptable people. And sometimes it's just not the circumstances that are what's causing the pain.
Yeah. Oh, I think that it's a choice. Joy is a choice, right? How we act and what we want to do with life is a choice. But I also hear that you were a very positive, happy person before, and you were trying to find yourself within your within your new circumstance. Right? That's what you
Yes.
You were saying, that you were that type of person before, and you were trying to. You said, I have a circumstances that changed, but this is who I am. How can I still be who I am within this circumstance?
Exactly.
Okay. Not everybody is as positive as you, even before, right? Some people have a wonderful life, but somehow they always focus on the negative. They always focus on the difficulties, and we all have difficulties, and I'm not minimizing anybody's difficulties. I've interviewed people from different levels of adversities and tragedies that they went through, but I always told everybody the worst tragedy is the one that you are going through right now. There's no comparison between what people go through, but what we always have to remember is that it's a choice how we're going to react to the circumstance. We can choose to remain a victim, remain feeling like the world, the outside needs to fix it for us, or we can take control of our ship and say, nobody's coming to help me. I have to do this. This is the work. This is the journey. I mean, this is why I'm here. And maybe, just maybe, what I'm going through now is the reason I'm here. And I'm quoting a Hebrew song. This is the translation. But maybe what we're going through, that is the challenge. That is the journey. That is what we need to overcome to become this next um, in the next phase of our life, the growth, right? Who we're supposed to become. I want to talk to you about that situation because it was extremely inspiring to me. That video that you shared, I think you have no idea, Courtney. I want you to know, keep doing your videos, keep sharing, because
Which one was it?
it was the video about the support group that you were in. You were
Oh,
in.
when I got kicked out of the support group?
Yes.
Can you believe that?
I was blown away by that story. Blown away.
I know.
Blown away. But before we go into the story, I want you to know something. Sometimes you have a lot of engagement in your videos. You have a lot of engagement, thank God, in your group. People are very connected to your story. But we never know the reach we have. Because sometimes there are people that are quiet. There are people that are not responding. They're not sharing. But they are listening, they are absorbing, and they are they're thinking about it, and they're making it part of their lives. So I want you to know that, because I know for myself that sometimes I feel like sometimes I'm talking to the walls, so I don't know the kind of reach I have, but then people come and tell me, and then I'm like, really, you listened to it? I didn't even know you were there. I didn't even know there were no comments. I don't know. But I want you to know that it's true. Tell this story, because the story is beyond incredible, because of the vantage points that you can see. When you analyze it, first as a victim, right? Because you were a victim of that group in a way.
Kind of.
Yeah, you were. You totally were. But then you taking a breath, and then you're figuring out a way to explain what happened. Not that you agreed, but what you did was incredible. Okay, go ahead, tell the story. Because I'm rambling.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. I more for my own inner peace than anything. I don't like confrontation, but it's beyond that. It's not just that I don't like confrontation. I also don't like to ever make another person feel, like they can't accept themselves, or that they're not okay with who they are, and I know you need to hold people accountable sometimes, which is what happened. So this guy post in my condition is called CIDP, and there's 8,000 people in that Facebook group. And I never even really get in there very often, which I think is an interesting thing to remember when you're in these online support groups. The people that have had great recoveries, the people that have moved on with their life, the hopeful, inspirational stories, they're not in there anymore. They might be a member, but they're not active in there because they're living their life. So sometimes it can feel like doom and gloom in there, because you think, oh my gosh, did anybody get better? It's because they're not speaking up. And I'm in this group, and just randomly I saw this guy comment this story about how he hiked a mountain after he had CIDP, and he was like this military guy, macho dude. So when he got really weak and almost paralyzed, it was really, really hard, especially hard for him. It's hard for anybody, but when you're a macho dude and you need somebody to help you go to the bathroom, it's like even harder. So he was really excited. He climbed this mountain, and it was like his Mount Everest, not literally, but it was like his journey. And one of the admins of the group, commented below. He even talked about how he was really hesitant to say anything because he's really nervous to put himself out there, because, you can't really, not everyone says the best things back. And the admin, leader of the group, says, it doesn't sound like you have CIDP, our condition. If you did, then you wouldn't have been able to hike up this mountain, because people with CIDP will never recover. They will always be on treatment, and they will always have to have painful procedures, and you're spreading false hope. And I was like, oh, it still gives me goosebumps right now. I literally got goosebumps. I and probably the ego part of me took a hit, because I've been off of all medication for over 2 years. I'm in remission. My blood work's even normal. Like for a little bit, my blood work wasn't totally normal after the chemo I had, but now it is. So I'm like in real remission. So I'm reading that. I'm like, that's a lie, because I'm literally, it's not something I read on the internet, living, breathing the opposite of what she said. Yes, I never made a full recovery. I have disability in my hands, in my leg. But as far as the autoimmune, I do not have active autoimmune right now. And I'm not having painful procedures, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, I did hike a mountain. I hiked 500 miles across northern Spain on the Camino de Santiago after my CIDP while I was still on medication, before I'd even gotten to the point I am now. So I took a breath and I replied to her, not to shame her or correct her, but to stick up for the guy that was vulnerable enough to post and celebrate his win. Because I felt empathy for him, where I was like, whoa, this, like, do it to me, whatever. I put myself out online all the time. This timid guy that is nervous to talk about his story worked really hard to crawl up his mountain. You're going to call him a liar and you're going to shame him for sharing? I was like, he's not going to stick up for himself. I'll stick up for him. Like, so I didn't say anything even mean to her. I just said, hey, actually I'm off medication, so I know it is possible. And I actually did hike up a mountain too. So there are people, and I was paralyzed from the neck down. So it's not like I had a mild case. So it can happen. And I told her, the only thing I said that could have been taken a little is I just said, I think it's just as important to, catch each other when we fall as it is to celebrate each other when we win. So let's celebrate the wins too. Right after that, I get kicked out of the group, blocked. And they blocked the guy too. Again, it took me a couple hours to get my emotions collected, because I'm a human being and I have reactions. I'm like, screw her. I'm going to start my own group, and then I'm going to blast her on the internet. She's going to regret the day she kicked me out, is what I thought. But of course, that's not how it is how I felt, but it's not the right thing to do. That just would have made me feel like a nasty person after. So I took a breath and I thought, okay, someone who's trying to spread hopelessness, what is their experience right now? Someone who thinks there's no hope of recovery, that we're always going to be relapsing and in pain, what is their experience right now? Okay. And then I felt compassion.
I have to stop here.
Yeah.
Because this here is the key. That is applying a different vantage point to a situation that could be maddening. To me, it was so beautiful. It was so pure. It was holy. Courtney, when you were sharing that you stopped and you did this exercise, I felt that I was in front of holiness. Because seriously, because you know why? Because we are meant to do that, right? When I am a big believer that everything that we go through, everything that we hear, we were supposed to hear. We were supposed to go through that, because there is a lesson in there for us, because there is opportunity for growth for us. And the fact that some of them suck, it doesn't mean that they're bad. They're hard, they're painful, they suck, but it's not equal to bad. It's equal to hard. And what he did to you was hard. And you had a choice to be really angry and do what you said that your first reaction and feeling was, I'm going to show it to this person. Or did this little exercise to ask yourself, what did this person do and what does it say about this person? And then, like you said, you felt compassion. And I think that this exercise of asking that can change a person from hatred to compassion. And when you do that, because we're energy, when we are in the frequency of anger, of hate, what are we attracting more to our lives? Attracting more anger, more opportunities to be angry and more hatred. But when we are in the frequency of love and compassion and kindness, we attract more of that. You were able, with a couple of questions, to switch from anger to compassion.
Yeah, and I'm glad I did. And one of the things I thought of, because I'm trying to practice what I preach, I teach like master classes on this stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well, I have all of this in the energy of anger, and like you said, we're all energy, and the energy of anger is very empowering, and it's an energy that can drive you into motion. And I wanted to expend that anger by calling my mom and venting, and from a victim, playing the victim, exactly what I wanted to do. Exactly, I wanted to play the victim, call my mom, have her validate how I felt, talk about how much that lady sucks, how she shouldn't be an admin, blah blah. And then I would start my own group and then blast her on Facebook. That's what I wanted to do. But then I was like, okay, or I can use this energy in a way that I can put it into messaging the woman and giving her compassion. So that's what I did. And it was the harder route. And I'm so glad I did it, because she did. At first, she was really rude. I messaged her and I said, hey, I just wanted to see how you are and how your CIDP is. And she said, that's nothing that nothing I care to talk about with you, or something like that, or nothing I care to talk about with someone like you, or something like that. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, I know CIDP can relapse, and I just wanted to let you know, I really apologize. I should have sent you a private message. I shouldn't have replied back. My intention wasn't to, correct you, and I could have gone about it a better way privately. And I just recognize that guy's feelings, but I'm sorry for not taking your feelings into account, or something like that. And then she softened up, and then she goes, to be honest with you, she said, to be honest with you, I'm in so much pain right now, I can't even read your message. And I was like, I figured, I knew it. And then we kept talking. I spent 2 hours talking to her. I never got readmitted to the group, and she never apologized to me, but I felt better. And that anger was completely gone by the end of that conversation, without having to make her feel worse, or prove my ego right, or vent to my mom and spew venom on her. And I felt so much better. And it was such a good lesson. I would say only 50% of the time I have the self-control to approach things like that. But it felt so good. And it was affirmation that that's a good route to go.
Courtney, 50% is a lot.
I mean, it's really hard to not be reactive.
No, but 50% is a lot, because we're impulsive. It's normal from us to impulsively react to what comes our way, and especially because when we feel that we did something honorable, even more, right? Come on, I was doing something honorable. I was trying to help that guy, and it comes that saying, right? No good deed goes unpunished. We see each other even more as a victim. Come on, I was just doing something really good, and out of this good, I got, punched in the gut. But it was really an opportunity for you, and I saw as an opportunity for you to do an act of kindness that only you could have done, because I bet with you that this person has a little bit more hope, that there is healing. Meaning, I think she believes now that some people, she may be jealous that it's not her, but I think that she was able to see, what, it's more than one person that healed from this, and maybe there is hope.
She had good intentions, and that's the thing, is sometimes people think, oh, well, they're seeing this situation completely different from me, and I have good intentions, which means they don't. And that's not true. Like, sometimes both people are right, depending on the truth they're living in. And what her viewpoint was, she did admit to me that she believed me, that I had a recovery and had CIDP, and that she believed the guy. She admitted it. But she said, but you guys are rare, and if people see your stories, it's going to give false hope. And she said, most people aren't going to have your kind of recovery. She said, I'm just worried about people's mental health. And she's like, I just want to protect people's, expectations, so that they don't get really, really disappointed and depressed when they don't get what you got. Like, so her intentions were good. I'm like, what? I'm like, you're limiting the potential of so many people that could get there, though. Because those people, you might be protecting them from seeing hope and believing in themselves and keeping them small. So I'm like, we have very different viewpoints. But I can respect and appreciate that we've also had different life experiences. And if I was her, I would potentially really see things the exact same way as her.
Yeah, but you see how interesting that's exactly the vantage point. That's another example of how to look at the situation from same situation. Two people had the same disease, one side as there is hope, I can get better, I'm going to do everything that I can, and while that's happening, I'm going to find a way to still be a kind human being and bring smiles to people. And I need to have purpose even from a wheelchair. And she's thinking, you know what, very rare, very far and few between get better. I don't want even anybody to talk about it because I don't want anybody to have false hope, because otherwise they're going to be miserable. Same disease, two people going through the same experience and coming to it toward, facing it completely differently. But at the end of the day, she's in pain and you're healthy, right?
I'm not in pain, yeah.
Because I believe that a lot of your healing had to do with your mental well-being. I mean, making an effort to still be a productive member of society and have what to contribute. I remember one video you said, I wanted to know that there is still reason for me to be here. And when people saw me in the hallways and they smiled, and I knew that I made that smile happen, I knew that there was still reason for me to be here. And I think that ultimately we all want to do good here, right? We want to have a good impact on other people. So as long as we see that we're having that good impact on people, we have a reason for being, and then we keep marching on, getting better in whatever area of our lives needs bettering. I don't know. I think that's one of the 10 golden nuggets is acts of kindness. And I think that you mesh that, but okay, in my book, acts of kindness is when you were really already thriving, when you use your adversity to impact others in a good way, is when you graduated from being just a survivor to thriving. You were doing that. It's almost like you said, okay, let me skip a lot of steps and start doing acts of kindness from right now and see what happens. And magic happens. I mean, so much good happened. You created such a community. How many people do you have following you right now?
I've got like collectively, I don't know, maybe like 150,000 or something like that.
And it's exploding because you have no idea. People that are forwarding and sharing, like I shared your videos, just in the Heal with Gold, there's 1,000 people. So you have no idea how many more people are watching you. Tell me about is it a movie or a documentary or?
Yeah, I don't know when they're gonna get that ready. I'm lucky, really, I'm lucky. I don't even know how I got so lucky to be a part of this documentary.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend connected me to these guys, and they're doing a docu-series, 3 different documentaries, basically about how capitalism and related things can be hard on your health, whether that in health, all of it, physically, emotionally, mentally, and that getting back in touch with nature and human connection and human touch can heal you and bring you back to life. And I got to be one of the 3 episodes. And I mean, one of the guys that's editing this thing edits shows on HBO. I mean, it's like this really big production. They flew me and my friends to Tulum in Mexico, and we did all this cool stuff. And anyways, but we started filming in 2019, and we finished filming last year. So it should be within the next year. It'll be released probably on Netflix.
So how your life changed, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the main, it's not really a documentary of how my life changed or really even my recovery. It's me and my two best friends, and it's more showing how human connection and friendship and support and community is what heals you.
Listen, it's one of my chapters because 100% we can't do it alone. Frankly, that was one of the reasons that I started the Heal with Gold group, was to be able to make a space. I mean, there are many spaces, but I just wanted it to be my space, my house, my home, uh, where people could get together, feel safe to share and learn, and doing those interviews together, because I knew that we needed to do it in a group. There's no way to successfully go on this journey and not have with somebody to share the sad moments or the good moments. Equally, we need a community, and we need good friends. Tell me a little bit about your life in Mexico.
I love it so much. I'm so happy here, and I'm so torn what to do because let's see, I've been here almost 2 years, and it's really slow paced, which is my only speed because I walk so slow. I do everything slow. And so it's cool. And it's just like I'm looking at the ocean right there to my right. And I just got this new little rescue dog, this little Mexican street dog. I just got her 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I was dating this super sexy Mexican guy, but we just broke up because we knew we weren't going to marry each other. It was like the most mature breakup I've ever had. Like, oh,
Mhm.
no one did anything wrong. No one's hurt. We're just being honest about how we feel. Cool. Wow. This is what adults do. That's so cool. But yeah, it's just, I feel so alive here and so happy. And the people here are just, I think the people that move here, it's beautiful by the beach. I think the running joke here is you ask people, what are you running from? Because typically someone had something traumatic or life altering that was at home and they just needed to like shake things up. And, I thought I was the only one, but everyone I meet, I'm like, oh, okay, what happened to you? And so everyone's so like down to earth and humble. And it's amazing. I love it. But I'm torn what to do because the dating scene isn't like thriving. And I'm 38 years old, and I'm like at this point where I do want to be in love and get married. And it's like I'm so happy here, but I miss my family in Texas so much, and I do want to fall in love. So it's like that's kind of in Texas, and then everything else I love is here. So I don't know.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard it must be. Um, you talked a little bit on a video, I think it was a day or two ago, about your life in Mexico. I was listening to it. Um, so I wanted to touch on the fact that you were for a long time completely dependent on other people for everything. Once you got well enough, you decided to go on your own and and manage on your own. But you didn't only just go to like the next town over. You left the country. I wanted you to. I felt that it was such a mature. Again, it was another sign of a thriver because you wanted so much your independence. And it's almost like you didn't want to create a situation that you would be so close that you could just say, okay, but this you could do for me or that you could do for me. It was an immersion in this independence and just being able to live your full life on your own as your life is. Taking this is the new me, and I'm embracing the new me, so I'm gonna go away to be me by myself and see how I do it. I don't know, that's how I interpreted. I don't know if but that's the lesson that I learned, that it was almost like she didn't do it halfway. She went all the way. She was in this healing journey that she was just embracing it all the way. um, what were the thoughts that you went through your mind when you decided to leave the country after you had been so sick?
Yeah, I don't know if it was as much about independence or needing to get as far away from people that could help me, as much as when I was, or I'll say it like this in short, as much as it was, I wanted to, oh my God, my little doggy. She's so cute. I got to pick her up. It was more like I wanted to live my life to the fullest. And the thing is, when you go through major life changes where you come out the other side with less than when it started, of course you're going to gain things, like you can't lose anything without that space being taken up by something else. But as far as like resources go, money, energy, health, like support, whatever your resources are, when you go through a major life change, a lot of times you needed to use a lot of them, you come out with less. So I thought, okay, what's something that I can do with the resources available to me right now? At the time I was on disability. But the thing is, I had nothing holding me back from moving to a foreign country. That had been a not lifelong dream of mine, but a very long-term dream was to live in a foreign country by the beach, somewhere beautiful. I'd always wanted to do that. So it was like, cool, something I can do right now with my life that I couldn't have done before because I had a whole life, whole career, stepkids, all the stuff. But now that's available to me. Awesome. So I really was focused on how can I create the best life for me right now out of the resources I have and the opportunities I have that are available to me.
I think that this is such a wonderful question that we shouldn't wait once in a million, in a blue moon, to ask ourselves. I mean, we can ask ourselves literally daily. And I think it's a very important question because you're living with intention when you ask yourself this question.
Yeah, one of the main things is people always, get very attached to money being the limitation for being able to change their life. And, that I want to bring that up because my rent of my condo here in Cabo San Lucas with ocean views, furnished, brand new, it's so cute. It's at least half, if not, it's probably 35 to 50% of the cost of rent in Texas. So it's like I'm living in a condo half off. So that's what I mean by if you can just kind of get out of the box and start thinking about, okay, well, what choices do I have and opportunities with my resources that I have available, and then work with it. That's something I get a lot is people are just like, oh, I couldn't do that. Like I have bills to pay. I'm like, well, do you want cheaper bills to pay? Because you can do that.
Wow. So you're considering going back?
Well, I'm considering like doing maybe 8 months, 6 to 8 months here, and then 4 to 6 months at home because I just really miss my family a lot. But it's torturous because I'm torturing myself because I love it here so much. Like I thrive here. I'm happy here. Love my friends here. I love everything about my life here except for my family's not here.
Yeah.
And the dating thing, whatever, right? I mean, I could figure that out probably here. Meet some tourists when they come in town or something. but the family thing is like, I hate to be this far from them all the time, the rest of my life. So that's something I'm playing around with.
You mentioned something in the last video that you made about Mexico that I thought was incredible. It was such a little comment that you made because somebody asked you, how do you meet people? And you said, I started a networking group. And I said, here is somebody that moves into a country. She's making her life. She's not waiting for somebody to make it happen. I come, I'm by the beach. There's no networking group. I'll start one.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite stories, and I can never tell it. When we tell our stories, we always want the other person to feel how we feel about it. Mm-hmm. And I can never tell this story in a way where I can deliver the amount of emotion that I feel about this group I started.
I felt it. I totally felt. You see that I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, but the reason it's such a powerful thing, I mean, it makes me, out of everything we've talked about, it's the one thing that's making me emotional, is I think back to when I moved here and I remember, like, don't get me wrong, I was confident, loved who I was, happy. Like, I was fine. And I was like, well, who would want to be friends with me when they could, I can't, like, I walk funny, and, I don't want to party, and I can't, like, I don't even know who I'm introducing. I don't know what my hobbies are. I had to relearn how to meet people, because the old way, would be bouncing around and going and grabbing someone a drink and like dancing around. And I can't physically engage the way I used to, or I don't want to either. And I just didn't even know. It was like, just like you learn to walk again, or just like I learned to walk again, this was another piece of like, well, I don't really remember or know how to do this in this new chapter. But I just remember that girl just thinking, who would want to be friends with me? Like, I'll save them the trouble. I don't want them to even have to try to be nice to me. And now, fast forward, I started a group a year ago. It was a young professional meetup group, and I only had one friend, and who took me 9 months to build up the courage to go have coffee with him because I was so afraid. And finally I did. But we started this group, just him and I scheduled our very first meetup last July, a little over a year ago. And I posted it in like the big Facebook group for this town, this city, Cabo San Lucas, and posted this event in there. And my friend said, are we still going to have this thing, even if it's just me and you that show up? And I was like, yes, we're still doing it. You're going. And we go, and 30 people showed up. And I was like, wow, cool. Like, wow, like we have a meetup. There's like 30 people here, people I can talk to, and they came. Now there's 1,500 people in that group. They don't come, not, to all the meetups and stuff, but I've thrown yacht parties. I've thrown costume parties with DJs. I've thrown like art painting classes and karaoke night, and I hired a band. We did like a mezcal tasting and all this stuff. So I'm like throwing events, and I have hundreds of friends here. And that's why I teared up, because I think back to like that girl that didn't know how to introduce herself and didn't think someone would want to be their friend, to like being the queen bee, hosting events, running a meetup group. I'm just like, how did that happen?
Well, that happened because you went after a happy life.
Yeah.
You made a choice, right? To me, it's so inspiring. I don't know about how other people feel. You guys can chime in that you're here, but when you shared that, you spoke very, very briefly about it. But I was like blown away. I'm like, what? Come on, tell me more about that part of the story, because I don't know. You are naturally an extrovert, right?
Yeah, kind of. I have like an extroverted personality, but I get really, I have the introverted quality where I get energized when I'm alone, and then I get really tired after I've been social. So I think it's an introverted quality.
And ambivert is when it's like a mix of both.
Yeah.
I found it fascinating because I really felt, I find that you made a choice. I don't know, maybe you were in your mom's womb, but I feel like you made a choice that you will be the author of your story, and that you are never going to let anyone to take the lead and decide what's going to happen. That it was always going to be up to you to, and I think you lead your life like that.
Yeah.
Right? Do I get it from your stories. I from your videos, I get it that you made a decision that you will always have a part on making the decision of how the story continues.
Yeah. That's when I quit my career to go traveling around the world, my mom would say that there was no one that could tell me to do something different. She was like crying, begging me not to do it. But yeah, it was interesting when I started my Facebook page, the Unicorn page, where I started sharing my recovery. I was still paralyzed when I started that page. I think it was like, I think psychologists would call it like disassociation. I think that's the technical term. And I started being like looking at myself like I was outside of myself. And it was just natural. It wasn't a choice. It was just something that started happening, not like schizophrenia or anything. But what I was doing is I was looking at my story. And then I would post about it. And then the minute I made a post, I would start thinking, ooh, what would be a cool thing for Unicourt? Because that was my nickname. And I got that nickname Paralyzed. So that's the name of my paralyzed autoimmune personality. And I was like, ooh, what would be a funny thing or a cool thing or an inspiring thing to share on Facebook next for Unicourt? So I started writing a story for her. And I started being like, ooh, and then Unicourt can move to Mexico. That would be like cool. Or then, ooh, and when Unicourt starts dating, or, ooh, and then if Unicourt did this. So it was this practice where by sharing my story, I was living my story the way I wanted it to be told. And so it kept me on track. And it kept me accountable to stay walking the path of the type of person I wanted to share my story. It was a very interesting thing that happened with that.
And I noticed, without you telling me. And I think that it's such a lesson, because we can just say, oh, Courtney, that's great. It's so wonderful that you did that. Or we can say, she wrote her story. That's what it means when people tell us that the next chapter of our lives, we get to write it. What does it mean we get to write it? We get to make some choices. We get to say, do we, give the person a benefit of the doubt? Do we choose to not be impulsive? Do we choose to change our lives, change location, move, start something new? We get to choose it. After my husband had the strokes, he stopped working, and I had a very big mortgage. I had a very big house. My offices were in my house. I had a very big space, and it was my forever home. It was the home that I could see my grandchildren coming into. And thank God I do have 3 grandkids, and they did come and we'll go to the pool, and we bake together in their kitchen. And I thought I would do a lot of that it would be forever, that all my kids would be married and they would all be around in that house, around the kitchen. And I had a choice to make, to leave the story that was, right? It was the story that I wrote once, a long time ago, that this was going to be my forever home. It was a story that I told 20 years ago, 18 years ago. Or I can say I have a completely new chapter happened, right? My husband got sick, and thank God he's alive, and I can focus on the fact that he doesn't work, or I can focus on the fact that he's alive. And I choose to focus on that, but now I can't afford the mortgage. So what's my next chapter? What is the mystery of what's happening? Where do I want to go? What is the life that I want to lead? What are the changes that I want to see happen? And I very selectively made a decision that I wanted to be near farms, near animals, more near nature. But in Florida, it's very city living. But I found a community. I'm 10 minutes from 100 horse farms, and my daughter goes riding every single day of the week. The whole summer she was at the farm 6 days a week, and she went from never riding to, so comfortable with the horses. And I go sometimes and I see the animals, and I feel like I really moved, but I moved in my terms, to something that I wanted. So I wanted to be near the hospital, but I wanted to be near horses. And I found it was right there, where my husband's hospital is 10 minutes from the farm. We're like right there. And I felt it was such a gift, but it was also a decision. And it's a decision that we all have. You are proof of it. I'm proof of it. There are a lot of people that we need to look out for them and talk to them and hear their stories, and not just hear and say, oh, that's wonderful, but hear and analyze it and say, how can I do the same thing to my life and improve my life? So I'm always very blown away by how intentional you live, and how you think about, the different vantage points. You see things from different perspectives, and then you make a decision based on it. And it's inspiring to me, and it's inspiring to the 150,000 followers you have, and plus more, really.
Thank you.
No, because you talked about when you were in the hospital, how can I still be of service? Like, what's my purpose in life? And I think that your purpose is so big, and I hope that you see it, because it's bigger than life. It's enormous. You do retreats, and I wanted to, I never, when I do the interviews, we never sell anything. This is not what I do here, and all my people that I interview, they all know it. But I wanted to share a little bit about your retreat, because I wanted to go to your retreat, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. I was so sick, Courtney. Then I am definitely better. Still a long way to go, but so you're doing retreats every so often, right? And you help women find their purpose.
Yeah, well, I want to say, Marina, thank you for that sweet comment. That's really
Mhm.
sweet. Yeah, I did a retreat in Guatemala. What month is it? This year. It was this year in February.
Mhm.
And I'm going to do another one. I haven't picked the dates because I haven't found the venue. So many of the, for my retreats, I really try to keep them affordable,
Mhm.
and part of that is just finding a venue that isn't like $300 per person a day. But anyways, I'm going to do one here in the Baja where I live near Cabo San Lucas sometime probably around February, March of next year. And I'm pretty excited about it because I've spent the past 2 years making these really, really amazing connections with people here. So it's going to be like, okay, for example, my friend has done a TED Talk. She lives here. She charges $10,000 to speak, and she's going to come speak at my retreat for free because she's my friend. And then my other friend is like a shark influencer. He's been on the Discovery Channel, and he's my friend here. And he was like, yeah, I'll take y'all out on a boat. It's like I have these like superhero people here that I've met that are like, yeah, I'll do something cool for your retreat. I'm like, cool. So it's going to be like, it's accumulation of awesome stuff. But yeah, I'm really big into emotional healing. And so much of that is just acceptance and compassion, which sounds simple. And it sounds like something good for a meme or a bumper sticker, and it's like, some people try to make it like it's so simple, like, well, just accept yourself. And it's like, well, I can't do that.
Mhm.
I like to make my retreats revolve around kind of releasing pain and accepting yourself where you're at and finding that like inner peace.
I love that. We talked about self-compassion. Exactly. That was the topic last week. And yes, I want to go. I want to go. So I really hope that the dates work. I would love to see some other people from the Heal with Gold community. Maybe we can go together. I would love to participate. You're just a gift, and I really hope that people, not just with Courtney, but you need to surround yourself with people that bring you up, people that make you think about your life in ways that you can make changes that are going to be good for you and good for your friends, your community, and for the world. And it's those types of conversations. I mean, when I go to listen to you speak, I always end up with something that makes me think about my life. How can I apply that? Something that I saw that, enriched me, that I didn't think about it before. How you changed, that whole talk about that person from that group, to me was major. If that person is sending a hopeless message, what does it mean about her? she's in hopelessness, she's in that situation. So suddenly you feel compassion. And I think that this is an amazing tool for us to think about things from different perspective, and then changing that story of us being victims to one of being empowered and having something that we can do that's kind and good to the world. Courtney, I can't thank you enough. I'm so happy you came back to the show. I hope that you will come back still.
Thank
And
you.
please, 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 once you have all the details for your retreat, please share it in the Heal with Gold community. So if you're here, you're listening, if you're watching it on replay, please join us so you can stay up to date. And please share this video, because we just want to impact people in ways that are positive and helpful to others. So please feel free to just go to my personal page, because you cannot share from the Heal with Gold, but go to my personal page or copy the link on YouTube and share it with your friends. If you like them, you'd share them.
And I actually did end up creating a new online support group, but I did, but I waited a few days to make sure I was doing it for the right reasons, like authentic, good reasons, not just but anyways, it's a free group. You're welcome to join that. It's called the Unicorn Community.
Amazing.
So it's like focused around people sharing success stories and what's helped them and good stuff.
And it's not just in your situation, from your disease.
No.
It's
anybody.
Anybody. Okay, very good. So I will please say WhatsApp me the link, and I'll put it on the group. Or you can put it in the group directly. Courtney, do you want any thought, anything that you want to end this conversation with?
No, yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun. We talked about stuff that I don't normally talk about on these kinds of calls. So it was fun to talk about everything you brought up. So thank you.
My pleasure. Do you want to show us your doggy before we go?
Yes. Well, she's under the couch. Bella, come here. Come say hi. Oh my God, she's so cute.
I saw her all dirty in the first day that you brought her back.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with her. Now she's laying on her back. We'll pick her up. Okay,
that's okay. We'll do it another time. Courtney, thank you so much. Have an amazing day in Cabo San Lucas. Enjoy yourselves. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. And until next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See you.